Social media is one of the most useful ways to connect with the online world. We've become very involved with this development as most of us have a smartphone which we look at constantly. It's no surprise that the media, pop culture, and entertainment have had a major influence on all of us. From advertisement commercials to highly photoshopped images in magazines, we've become exposed to social media's powerful online regime. We as teenagers have also been very affected by this advance. Some of us can't even remember a time without Wi-Fi. During school, in our free time, and even when we're with our friends, our phones seem to be there as well. Your online life is much too important to be left behind. Or is it? Why has technology become such a big part of our lives? Let's look back and see how far it's come. The first official way of communication across long distances was the writing of letters or cards. The telegraph was invented in 1792, and it allowed a quicker and more efficient method of correspondence, even though the messages were short. In 1876, Thomas Graham Bell created a device that converted sound into electronic signals that transferred through a cable and was audible to the user on the other end. This invention, known as the telephone, revolutionized long-distance communication with its release. With it, people were able to talk to one another without being together. It took another century for a digital computer to finally be released to the public. Created by Steve Jobs, the Apple desktop computer was released in the early 1980s, and it resembled more of a white brick in comparison to the more modern, delicate versions of today. This was the start of Apple's great ascent to the throne, though at first, believe it or not, it wasn't so popular. A few decades after the release of the iMac, Apple revolutionized technology once again and created a product that is scribbled on everyone's Christmas wish list: the iPhone. Not only is this device a touchscreen, it also allows us to access the internet wherever we are instead of switching the old desktop. It also gives us the opportunity of surfing Apple's giant app store and to download our favorite social media apps and games. Just this year, Apple sold a total of 74 billion iPhones worldwide. Along with the invention of the computer, the invention of the internet was close behind. More than 50 years ago, the internet had its very first use in the United States as a government weapon during the Cold War. In 1962, a scientist by the name of J.C.R. Licklider feared that a Soviet attack on the telephone lines would completely ruin all communication in the country. He then proposed a solution to this problem: a galactic network of computers that could talk to one another. In 1965, another group of scientists developed a way of sending information through the machines, a sort of email. It was then given the name ARPANET. As the network grew steadily, the name was changed to the Internet. In 1991, a Swiss scientist by the name of Tim Berners-Lee introduced an internet that was not only used for sending files from one place to another, but instead an internet that was a fountain of information that anyone could see. This is the World Wide Web that we are familiar with today. Social media made its breakthrough with a site called BBS, short for Bulletin Board System. It consisted of online meeting places in which users could communicate through a central system to download files and games. The next popular site was called CompuServe, where users were able to join different discussion forums where they could chat and share files. Yet by the 1990s, with the internet at full swing, Yahoo was already setting up and Amazon was already selling books. But we're forgetting the social media that completely changed the internet: Facebook. It now leads the social media pack with 1.3 million users. Founded by Mark Zuckerberg and his roommates, Facebook was initially meant as a college communication system for students in Harvard. Eventually, the site expanded to other universities in the Boston area, the rest of the US, and Canada. Presently, memberships are permitted to any person over 13 years of age with a valid email address. Nowadays, we have almost 7 generations of iPhones, various models of laptop computers, and a huge variety of new social media applications. Facebook still remains the top of the pyramid, but its competitors are close behind. Instagram, for example, has become an extremely favored application for sharing photos with friends and family. Another big one is Snapchat, a very addictive application also to do with pictures, though this one is slightly different. Snapchat consists of sending people pictures or snaps for a short number of seconds. Other applications have also created a huge impact on the world's teenage population. Some view it as too much of an impact. A survey conducted by the Pew Research Center found that 92% of teens report going online on a daily basis. Children from ages 8 to 18 spend a total of 8 hours per day engaged with some sort of media. That's 56 hours per week. Don't get me wrong, social media is a great form of communication, and it's an efficient tool for spreading information. But this doesn't mean that it should interfere with a person's life. Whatever happened to actual socializing, in which people actually talk, instead of texting all the time? People should understand that there's always a time for everything. But if you're out with your friends or you're on a family vacation, put your phone down for a second and experience the beauty that the world has to offer, outside of the universe of social media. The self-esteem of teenagers has also been highly affected by the rise of social media. Whether it's a new makeup product that will make you look flawless, or an article of clothing that's so in, many teens feel the pressure to be like everyone else. The internet also promotes false images of men and women that causes teens to question their physical appearance. The exposure to these sorts of images can very well bring down a person's confidence majorly. Teens should learn to perceive social media in a more mindful way, so the reaction to the content is more positive and less affected to the mind. The last controversial aspect of the overuse of social media is cyberbullying. The availability of social media has allowed bullies to target and harass people over the internet. Of course, this is not the result of social media itself, but of the user. A shocking 1.26 million teenagers worldwide are cyberbullied on a daily basis through sites like Facebook and Ask.fm. Many victims that receive continuous hate through media have turned to self-harm, or even worse, taking their own lives. This is a big example of how teens need to be responsible using social media. Overall, social media permits long-distance communications between people, and it can also be used for advertising and business. Its evolution has gone from a government-based network to a worldwide search engine where you can basically find anything. The technological advances that we've made has allowed us to create machines that can have their own applications, granting us the opportunity to share our lives with other people. We've been able to construct a device that fits into our pocket but has the power to access the internet in one single tap. Systems as powerful as this, however, could be turned around into something less positive, a place that lures us in and shuts us out from the outside world. A universe filled with stereotypical images that influence the way we think about ourselves. An environment in which people get hate for the way they look or the way they act. Like everything, social media has its pros and its cons, but in the end it really depends on the person behind the keystrokes. You. Be internet smart. Thanks for watching.